What on earth is that? It's a Journey into Comics Network production! All aboard!
I brought my pencil.
What do you wanna do with your life?
Walk on home, boy. Yeah.
Like anything gets the same like you did before. Make it ring, make it bleed, make it really suck.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the second episode of Rank 'Em All. Today we're looking at Metallica's Ride the Lightning, as this is the show where we take an artist or band and go all the way down its discography. We rank each song. That gives us the album rank. And in a sense, we do, in fact, rank all them some bitches. We have a panel of four here today with us. I am one of your panelists, Brendo, and joining me, he is the maestro of doom, Nick Maxon.
What's up, everyone?
Nick also is the host of Brews with Dudes, Dungeons with Dudes, and he pretty much, his plate is full. And we're very, very gracious that we could be a small little smidget of a serving on that plate for Mr. Nick. Thank you so much for being with us here today. Also
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Also here today, he's the host of Podcastrophe, Dick. What's up, Dick?
Hey, what's up?
We're back here again to rank Ride the Lightning, and also Podfather Nate Phillips. How you doing, bud?
Hanging in there, man. Seeing some lag happen. Hopefully we're going to survive that. But other than that, I think we're doing great. I'm really excited that we're officially now into episode 2 of Rank 'Em All. Episode 1 was a very fun first little venture in to see what we were going to do. Of course, as you guys know, I am Mr. Notes. So I do, in fact, have notes again this week for the show on Ride the Lightning as we go through the Metallica discography. And you guys, awesome to have the big four here back again to discuss this. What have you guys been up to? Anything good?
We've just been hanging out.
I took the dog out.
Doing the damn thing.
We are doing the
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Metallica Ride the Lightning is their sophomore album and features the band members James Hetfield, Lars Ulrich, Cliff Burton, and Kirk Hammett. This is also the first band to actually have writing credits for all active members of the band, as well as a little bit more Dave Mustaine thrown in there just for fun. The album was recorded in February to March 1984 and was released in July 27th, 1984, 1 year after Kill 'Em All came out. This album comes out. So that just
Damn.
Yeah. Like, that just goes to show you, they already had those songs from Kill 'Em All pretty much done. And they went in the studio, banged it out, hit the road. They started touring, started hitting the club scene, started opening up for some major acts. And then coming around, they were writing the songs from this album as they were touring, and it was time to hit that studio again. I actually do know how much was spent on this album, and that is because when they recorded the album and released it, they were still on Megaforce Records. But this is the album that got them signed to Elektra, because Megaforce had to pay, of course, the album cost, and they couldn't afford it. It was originally budgeted for $20,000, ended up costing about $30,000.
Jeez.
And so, because of that, the Metallica's European distributor had to help cover the cost of the album. Then, of course, they got on Elektra. Elektra repressed it with a couple of bonus tracks, and we were off the races. And of course, then they're signed to a major label on their second album having been released. They were on a roll, and a lot was happening very fast for them, because when you think about it, they have only been a band for like 2 years at this point, and they've been.
Gee.
I mean, they're signed to a major label, and Ride the Lightning was not the first album under that label. It would be the next one, but like, you can see their growth in the music writing already. You can see their growth as far as like their presentation, and but the real growth with the backing of a major label behind you to help push that album out. Now you're getting on the road with some bigger acts. Now you're really putting your music into the zeitgeist of the people going to these shows probably aren't going to see them. They're going to see somebody else. But who's leaving the impression? That's Metallica, and that is something that would continue on into the next album phase as well, because they're still not doing their own headline tours yet. But Ride the Lightning comes in at 47 minutes, 25 seconds. I hit you with at the end of Kill 'Em All, I told you how many albums it sold. In the United States, Ride the Lightning has 6 million copies sold for 6 times platinum. And they also have platinum in Canada, Australia, Germany, UK, Denmark, which those have different varying levels of how many albums you have to sell. In the United States, it was always 1 million to be platinum. So this album is a heavy hitter and has a lot of bangers, as we've said. We said that word in the last album. You know, that album had one certifiable banger, and this one I think has multiple. Guys, the album, we're just going to kick right into it unless you guys have something more to add before we start. Fight Fire with Fire is the opening track. It has writing credits for Cliff Burton, Lars Ulrich, James Hetfield. Nick, I'm going to start with you this time. What was your first thoughts upon hearing Fight Fire with Fire for this time around?
This is one that I've listened to for years and years and years now. It's a banger. It is a banger. I love the vocals. I gave it a 7.5 on my ranking. It ended up coming down pretty far on the list of like the way I ranked the songs on the album.
Yeah.
But it's still just an absolute banger. One of my favorite Metallica songs ever.
Well, it definitely has, even though it's lower on the list, there are only 8 songs on the album. There's a lot of good company on this album, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely bring it. Dick, let's hit you up.
Oh, I'm going to give this one an 8. Again, this album is banger after banger after banger. I love this album. Fight Fire with Fire. Fight Fire with Fire. Yeah, fucking, yeah. It's just a banger. I can't say anything more than Nick already said. Like,
but I didn't say much.
Yeah,
he
but
did.
you
It's a great opener.
You guys have not said what Nate's notes say. Nate, what do your notes say? I gotta know.
Thank you. Okay, epic intro. Like, oh my God, that beautiful like acoustic harpsichordy guitar vibe. Just you're like, wait, what is this? I've not heard this from Metallica yet at all. There was like,
and who wrote
no
that?
acoustic guitar. I'm gonna guess Cliff probably wrote that.
That was a lick that Cliff would play on the road on tour on their shitty ass bus that he just kept playing over and over again, and they worked it into the intro to Fire with Fire. That is like, to just step in for a really quick second, exactly what I was talking about when we talked about the first album, and how like a lot of those songs were already kind of done when they got to the studio to just write it, like record them, get them out there. Let's get the album out so we can go tour. Then them being around Cliff, them being around each other, learning how to gel together as a band and as people, and how they bleed into each other's personality, it shows you right away with the beginning seconds of the first song on the second album. This is a different Metallica. This is a more seasoned, this is a better rounded Metallica. And that intro just
It's so good. It's so good.
So the main riff of the song, you know, that whole thing, maintains the signature Metallica style. You don't forget, this is still the band that I loved the last album.
The beat is actually on the upbeat for that riff. Whereas like a lot of times when you're doing like the percussion work, you go on the downbeat. For that, it's opposite. It's on the upbeat. So playing along with that feels weird. And it's like when you're playing guitar and you're trying to learn that, you're just like, wait, a lot of people don't play it right. And that's because they're in their mind, they're playing it on the downbeat. It's really weird and intricate. I remember hearing that a long time ago, and a lot of people who were working on like studying Metallica's writing style was like, this was weird, and probably something that Lars did, because Lars was coming from that European mindset of just being completely different, and that's what in a way makes Metallica unique. You know, Lars isn't going to be the guy that says, "Oh, hey James, let me show you how to play that here. I think you should do this instead." He's going to be the guy with he's like the architect. You know, James is over there with his riffs. He goes, maybe if we move that here, maybe go ba 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 a couple more times, and then I come in with a pa pa pa. I'm like, okay, let's try it, and then they do it, and somehow it works out.
Thematically, I think this, in just the lyrics, thematically, this is already way more mature than all of Kill 'Em All.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like, and I don't mean to be like, I'm not trying, but again,
how old
they're getting older, they're more seasoned, and now they've had real world shit hit their bubble that we don't necessarily as people even know because it's their own journey or whatever that's affecting and influencing their mentality. James sets into a much more rough tone in his vocal palette for Fight Fire with Fire. It's not as it was a little, and I don't no disrespect, it was a little more glam on Kill 'Em All. It starts to become a little bit more death metal with where he's placing his lyrical voice, and it's awesome. The atomic ending is fucking incredible. It just has this like decay of just poof, everything goes wrong. The song is an 8.25 for me, and that's my final thought.
Again, with the anti-war motif and anti-revenge, this song really hits those themes. And this song is arguably one of probably the thrashiest song on the album, and it's the opener. Like, when we think of Metallica and what they, and them and the Big Four, and we think of all these great thrash bands, to be fair, Metallica, the first album is straight up thrash, and this album is starting to deviate because we have a couple songs in here that are like definitely not what you would consider like thrash songs. Whereas like when you have like a band like Slayer that kind of kept to their style until like the late 90s, but like, they make Slayer albums, Megadeth, they kind of did this. They tried some new things that didn't really, they basically, Metallica and Megadeth kind of went on a similar journey, but different. Metallica from the get-go was like, you know what, we're still a thrash band, we're still doing this stuff, but we're going to throw in a few little sprinkles of salt and pepper in here to really round it out. And they did that here, and I gave Fight Fire with Fire an 8. And so out of the gate, pretty well ranked right there. And then we have the title track, as we mentioned on the last episode. They kind of did a run of albums. There was track 2 is the title track and happens to be a big epic, Ride the Lightning. Dick, I'm going to start with you. On this listen through of Ride the Lightning, what did you think of Ride the Lightning off of Ride the Lightning?
10.
10. Boom.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I remember the first time I actually tried to learn that riff, and I realized, it's me, idiot. Oh, it's 2 guitars. It sounds weird. I don't want to keep playing this. But no, I do want to actually get back to learning that song because, god damn, that song is so good. That is in the air. Stepped in the electric chair. I flubbed that up a little bit, but
happening to me.
Oh my, what? Oh, I thought something was going on over there. I'm like, what? What's going on?
No, I got the vinyl here. And
Mine's in the other room. I'm not gonna grab it.
Now, Nate, do you have an original one or one of the newer re-released?
It's one of the Blackened Records
Blackened,
re-releases.
okay, yeah.
I do have an original pressing of Justice, though.
I really like not digging the fact that they just took pictures of them like in their underwear hanging out in the backstage. like, yeah, that's metal. What I do like, I like here.
That's my brand of metal.
Lars Ulrich plays Tama drums exclusively.
Ooh. Interesting.
Exclusively. So, Dick gave that song a fucking 10. His second 10.
Yeah,
I
love
dude.
that song.
He's got a bag full of 10s, don't you, Dick?
I do.
Nick,
'Cause I love giving love
yeah.
where it's deserved.
Nick,
So-
what do you got to say, my man?
I love it. It's great. I gave it 7.5. I gave it 7.52. I guess I'm a little more stingy than the Dong Master over there. But yeah, it continues the trend of just kicking ass at the very beginning of this album, not giving up a bit. So I love it. What I give it? It's down there. It's I give it 6 out of 8 on the overall album. But this is one of my favorite albums by them. So I got tons of favorites on this.
Not easy to do this, yeah.
It's not easy. Yeah, it feels shameful to say it's 6 out of 8, but it's like, well, you got five brothers with you that really, really killed it. So
is it me? Am I up now? Am I good?
Notes.
Oh,
It is your turn, Mr. Notes.
Okay, so first thing, I don't know if we mentioned, and I don't know that we did have it yet at all, the writing credits for each song.
I did for the first one. I have not done yet for Ride the Lightning. No,
I think that I don't know this. This is me guessing. I didn't look. Does Mustaine have a credit for Ride the Lightning?
he does. James, Cliff, Lars, and Dave.
Okay,
are credited
that's
here.
an awesome. Yeah. Okay. So the first line, more angular riffing. And I meant that by when you're listening to it, it has very angular feels, lots of spider riffing like Mustaine likes to do. You can hear it in the song.
That riff in particular, yes.
Double bass, thrash, still grooves. Like it has double bass in this song and it's still groovy. How do you do that? I don't know.
They do kick up like the intensity on this song a couple different times where they just do like the pre-chorus or like the bridge. It's like they just go into like another level of just heaviness. And yeah, the song kind of does this a little bit. It's not as like progressive as maybe like Four Horsemen is with the huge middle part, but it definitely, like, just like Nick said, it carries that momentum forward that they established with the first song, and they don't lose it.
Midway through, they have a slow jam where they pull it back a little bit, and it's very real. Like it still feels like Metallica from the first album when they would do that in Four Horsemen, like you were just saying. But beautifully crafted. I'm pretty sure it's got to be a Kirk solo there. I don't think James is jamming that solo. The dueling lead jam coming out of that's really great. Another thing that I really liked. And then that infectious groove that we get going into the final verse that takes us out of the song. All these parts make it one of my favorites on the album, probably the third highest rated, 9.25 for me.
9.25 from.
And let me mention, Brando, that when we saw Metallica back March of this past year, they did a majority of this album at that show. I think they played like 4 or 5 songs from the album.
Yeah,
and that
which was
I missed.
awesome. Ugh.
Oh no,
Awesome.
it definitely was a great show. I gave the song a 9. This song, just what has been said. What can I say that hasn't been said? This song kills, and I do think that while they do kind of go forward with their progressiveness, and we see that with Justice later on, this song doesn't. I don't think they go as far with it. That's what I was kind of trying to say with its comparison to Four Horsemen, because even the slower part in the middle, I don't feel like it slows it down. As I feel like the song just kind of keeps going at a certain pace and doesn't really stop. But the next song is definitely a slower jam, and is what can be often considered to be the first real departure from their thrash. For Whom the Bell Tolls. Dick, what do you got for me?
This is what I like to call a fist thrower. You know, you're sitting, not like the pit, but
Yeah.
you're just sitting there just fucking, yeah. I give this song 8.5 because it's really up there. I love this song. It's just one of those all-time greatest hits bangers for Metallica. The bass in the beginning, and then Kirk coming in. Oh,
Classic.
song. Love this song.
So just to reiterate, make sure I got that 8.5 for
8.5.
8.5. All right, Nate, what do you got for me? What do your notes got for me?
First line, there's Cliff really shining.
And yep,
This is really first, like, album 2. This is where I'm gonna come in and show you who the fucking boss is, And he does. Oh God, boo-doo-doo-doo, boo-doo-doo. Oh my God, it's
watch
amazing.
that.
Anyways,
watch that Day on the Green video if you.
amazing footage with him. He's got the Misfits shirt on,
Yep.
and he's fucking throwing his hair all crazy and going wild.
It's from 1985, I believe, or whatever. It's Metallica.
I think you can see it. Year and a Half in the Life is where you see that footage.
Or Cliff 'Em All. I know it's on Cliff 'Em All.
Yes,
But I know you can find it on YouTube, guys. Go check it out. Metallica playing For Whom the Bell Tolls live Day on the Green for MTV. And the camera is really fixated on Cliff when he's doing this intro. And it's just, again, to see an artist at work,
I think that bass lead is haunting and powerful. That's in my notes.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it comes out of that into the bum 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 bum, it just, there we go again. There's that groove. They're metal, but they're fucking groove. I don't want to ever forget when we're doing Rank 'Em All how much this band really is groovy. They have so much rhythmic swagger. It's almost sickening. back to my notes here. Epic guitar lead, obviously, constant chills on my re-listen. I mean, this song has a little bit of a different soft spot for me and Brando more personally. This was one of the first 2 songs we ever covered in our band Draxus back in the day, and we put a lot of work in, and there was a lot of funny, awkward times figuring out how to play this song that I'll never forget. That's probably for another podcast. The dueling leads in the post-chorus are maybe some of the best in their entire catalog. It's just so amazingly done. Lars really finds the pocket in the song. This is the first time I think Lars really has control of being a bigger part of their punch. You know, he's usually a great accenter in all the other songs we've heard so far, but this, he's really knowing where to help the guitar just kick it in the nuts. The whammy bar ending makes the chaos. Kirk just trying to kill his guitar through the whammy bar, 9.5.
9.5 from Nate.
Yeah.
And last but not least, well, I guess I haven't done mine yet, but Nick, what do you got for me?
I'll start off. I give 8.5. This is 3 out of 8 for me. One of my favorites. It's a departure from everything they've done so far. The build up is one of the most epic they've ever done. And it's fucking awesome the whole way through. It's a fist banger? Is that what you called it?
Thrower.
A fist thrower.
Fist thrower, that's
Definite
right.
Fist thrower, head banger. 100% fresh, certified banger.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I gave this song a 9 as well, and feel like, man, again, like Nate said, having those kind of like strong ties to my own musical journey, learning this song inside and out, even messing with the song ourselves to give it a little different pizzazz. Maybe we shouldn't have really even done that. The song kills it enough. And this is the song that has been a staple for the band in their live sets for 30 years. It still gets a huge reaction, especially when they play it live and Lars just hits that bass drum, thud, 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 bum, bum, bum. And then he hits it with those drums, and everyone knows exactly what they're going into. It is a song that, just like Seek and Destroy, as soon as you hear that first note, you know what song it is.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as Lars starts hitting with that little like bass drum beat and gets everybody kind of like throwing their fist and chanting, "Hey," they know Humi's coming down the line. So. Yeah, Humi gets a 9 from me. I didn't mention who has writing credits on that. That's Cliff, Lars, and James. Obviously, Cliff having a heavy part in that, with that intro. The next song, Fade to Black, with writing credits for all 4 members of Metallica, Kirk, Lars, James, and Cliff. Fade to Black was their first official, quote, ballad, and was inspired when their gear got stolen while they were on tour. They had to cancel a whole tour date because somebody stole all their damn gear. And
it sounds like it's a more serious, like seriously themed song, and then you hear that, and it's just like,
well,
it's the end of the world for a touring band. I get it, especially at that level at the time.
Well, as we've already said, they kind of had everything going for them, and they were rolling the album. They're getting ready to write their second album. And they felt like they were finally getting a good roll on, and then all of a sudden all their gear is stolen. And now what do? They don't have the money for the new gear, so they borrowed some from Anthrax, so they had to get more gear. And I can just see that as a major roadblock or major like hole in the road, a big pothole. I gave this song a 9, and that's 3 9s in a row from me. It was very difficult. Again, for all 3 previous songs, finding that spot. Is this a certifiable 10 in my eyes? And I feel like this is about as close as you can get. I almost want to give it a 10, but I'm pulling back just a little bit. Nate, do your notes disagree with me?
A little bit. First of all, possibly the greatest intro with the melancholic acoustic guitar. That lead comes in, piercing, cuts. One of my favorites to play on guitar, one of the earliest ones that I remember learning. This song lyrically is universally relatable, even though we're finding out it's about gear being stolen. And I can understand as a musician having a personal connection to your stuff and then having it be gone and you have no control over would feel like a loss of somebody, which is where I think a lot more people think this song is about, the loss of another human life, in the lyrics. The chorus is heavy, but the verse is acoustic, which is cool. I love how they like differentiate that, give it more of a ballady feel, like we were talking about. 10.
Nate's first 10.
It's my first 10.
First 10.
Very nice.
Oh, and I said harmonically, it's a masterpiece because it is harmonically a masterpiece.
Dick, do you agree?
Let's go with a 9.5. I'm gonna go with a 9.5. This is a song that I originally heard, and I didn't even know it was a Metallica song. I heard it. There's a trend with me hearing songs, thinking not knowing that it's a cover, like Holy Diver. I didn't know that was a cover. Smooth Criminal. I didn't know that was a cover from Alien Ant Farm. This I heard. It was in my LimeWire days. I was just downloading a shit ton of Disturbed songs, of course, and so I see. So I see Fade to Black, and it's on the Music as a Weapon 2 live album, and it's a really condensed, shortened version of it, and it's just, I mean, they do it flawlessly. And then I hear
it makes you want to hear them go wild on it, like.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But no, so Fade to Black, you got that melancholy intro, and then and then James enters, and it's still so sad and it's depressing as fuck. And then and I love that. And then of course, like later off when it finally starts kicking off, and you hear those little gallops a lot in this album. That's like a theme of this album, is those gallops. Yeah, I love that song. 9.5.
Nick.
I'm giving it a 10. It is my
10.
favorite. It is my favorite song by them. I guess there's not a whole lot more to say. Yeah, everything about it, the intro, the way they jump from the acoustic to the electric, in the middle when they transition from the first half of the song to the second half of the song. The guitar solo is probably my favorite solo in their whole discography, just because it's not so much blistering as it is like soulful.
Yes.
Yeah, my favorite. 10. Perfect.
Yeah. So I just want to add, before we head on to the next song, that what I said at the very beginning of Fight Fire with Fire holds true here as well, where we see like a true evolution of their songwriting. You know, from Kill 'Em All to this, you can see where the band has grown. Like,
oh yeah,
exponentially.
Yes. Oh yes. You know, you never would have heard a song like this, pulled off like this during just even a year prior, which is awesome to show that just a year removed they were writing this song, you know, and it just shows Cliff and Kirk's influence, coming in, when you see a track where Cliff or Kirk have a writing credit, it's a completely different than just James and Lars sitting there like, well, hey James, what are we gonna do on this one? Like, maybe I'll do this, No, like.
I love your Lars impression.
Hey there, dudes.
It's not even his best Lars impression.
No, it isn't. I've got some pretty funny.
He's really good at Saint Anger Lars.
That's the best one, because that's the biggest,
there's some kind of monster Lars.
Well, you can find a lot in there to just replicate what he says.
Yeah.
For sure.
He sounds stock, man.
Oh, just said it just sounds fucking stock.
Jeez.
Let me think about what I'm gonna say here carefully. Okay, so next song, Trapped Under Ice. It's the first track on side 2 of the record. I didn't say that any time on the other episode. Anyway, Hetfield, Hammett, and Ulrich have writing credits here for Trapped Under Ice. You almost kind of go back into the, going from Fade to Black and showing how far they've come. Trapped Under Ice almost brings it back into thrash territory here for this song. And even though I like it personally, I do dig it. This is I gave it a 7. I kind of dropped it down a little bit because I don't think it's on the same level as Fight Fire with Fire or any of the other tracks that kind of came before it. So coming up next, Nick, man, what do you got for me on Trapped Under Ice?
I give it an 8. I really like it. Something about the chorus. I like the way that he did the vocals there. And it's always one. It's like I have this thing with songs too, where like I said on Kill 'Em All, like you can ride the high off of one song so hard that you're in such a good mood on the next song.
Yeah.
I think Trapped Under Ice gets that kind of treatment. So yeah, I gave it an 8.
All right, Dick, hit me with it. What you got on this one?
7.
7.
It's just a thrasher. Like Nick said, it's just a thrashy song.
I feel like it's got some cool riffs and some cool different progressions into different riffs.
The thing I remember most about this song is that it's on Guitar Hero World Tour, and I had a lot of people playing it. Because that was when I was finally starting to like try to do better at Guitar Hero and playing on hard and expert and stuff. So it was really, and once I got to that level in the game, I was like, Metallica thrash, can't rhythm. But
the Metallica version of Guitar Hero was fucking awesome.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that had Fight Fire with Fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that version of the game introduced me to Machine Head, which has now become one of my favorites.
Really?
Oh yeah, because
Nice. I love Machine Head.
Beautiful Mornings on Guitar Hero Metallica.
The Blackening is such a seminal album.
Maybe we'll get there. Let's keep.
Yeah. But no, so Trapped Under Ice was also on Batman and Robin, correct? Was that on that?
What? No, it was not.
wasn't?
Really?
Maybe,
No,
maybe I'm
was
thinking Austrian Death Machine, and he was making fun of it. I don't know.
Yes, he was. Okay.
Okay.
That's
There it
where,
is.
yes. Trapped Under Ice. Come on, you idiots. Now, let me just say, before we move on to the next song. Oh, no, wait. Nate still has to give his thing. That's right. But I just want to come in and interject that I am severely disappointed in Metallica for having played a show in Antarctica,
And didn't play this song.
didn't play Trapped Under Ice.
How
Missed
on earth?
opportunity.
I mean, they
That
weren't
and
under the ice technically, so they didn't have to play it.
You are fucking missing the point on
They
purpose.
weren't even on ice. We're on tundra. They weren't even on ice.
We're not trapped on this ice.
Easily fixable.
Oh shit.
Nate, what do you got for me?
It's jam and tune. Okay.
Yeah.
The post chorus, like scream at Michael, mystified forevermore. Like that thing is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah,
And
no,
it's,
dig that
it's
part.
groovy. But one thing that I don't think anybody noticed, and it hasn't been said yet, so far as I've heard, this song, pay attention, it really is laying riff-wise the groundwork for what is to come in Justice. Not necessarily in Puppets, but heavily Justice. There's a lot of similarities in the way they are utilizing their riffs. This song's a 7 for me. Straightforward, it's a 7.
All right. Up next, we have James Hetfield's least favorite Metallica song, Escape, written by James, Lars, and Kirk. This song was the last song to be written for the album and was done so by the encouragement of the label to try and get a more palatable, like we kind of thought that maybe, you know, that may be what happened with Jump in the Fire and why it sounded different. This one was we want you to write a song that's going to get radio play. And because of that, James doesn't like it.
I don't know the song.
It's only ever been played once and it was when Metallica played it when they played the entire album in its entirety for an anniversary gig. Escape, Dick, what do you got to say for me about Escape?
6. I don't remember it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I mean, the song is heavily influenced by the movie, about Alcatraz, Escape from Alcatraz. So they wrote a song about Alcatraz essentially, or being in prison. So
That's so funny.
Nick, we'll go with you next. Like, what you got for me?
Not much.
Not
I
much?
agree. I agree with James. It's the most forgettable song, and we're only on album 2.
Yeah.
But did not stick out to me. I gave it a 6.
Okay.
It's 8 out of 8 on my album list.
Okay.
And now that as I'm looking at the titles, it is the only forgettable track. Every other song, I'm like, totally awesome, absolutely love it. And this one's like, that snuck in there, didn't it, guys? And hearing that it's like the label was trying to push them to do it, it's like, well, you guys almost had a perfect record.
Almost. And then you had
and
metal.
they forced escape on you. So I
Yes.
wish that my ears could have escaped.
It took me 6 songs to finally get to half-ass mode, but we made it.
I'll go next and let Nate go last since he's got notes. I like how that's just a running theme, a running gag. He's got the most to say. I gave it a 7 and feel like pretty much exactly what Dick and Nick have already said. It's kind of forgettable. It's you can see elements here of what they will probably do later when they strip their sound down, but then they will do it better, if that makes any sense. Like when it's time to actually strip away some of the more complexities of what they're trying to pull off musically, by the time they hit it up in the Black Album, in the Load eras, I feel like they're much better songwriters at that point in time. And at that point, they weren't being pushed to write anything that's more palatable. It's where they went naturally as an artist. So when it comes from you naturally, it definitely flows better. Nate, what do you got for me?
I'm gonna sound like the fucking guy at the label who pushed James to do this song because I wrote the dark horse of the album. Vastly different from structure to key. They change everything about their style. Infectious chorus with big rock feels, that bridge breakdown grooves, and then the dual vocal and guitar lead outro where it's like almost a air raid siren happening in the background too as everything's fading out is pretty fun. Now, does all that I wrote mean that it like is a 9 or something? No, it's still only like a 7.75. But it is a song that I do remember. I have, again, different connections to this album because it was one of the earlier ones that I was listening to in my finding of this band. So, yeah, that's what I got.
What was your rank on that?
7.75.
So just to add to what I said about the song, that it was originally titled The Hammer and was intended to be released as a single due to its lighter riffs and conventional song structure. Escape is Hetfield's most disliked song due to it being forced. Book authors Mick Wall and Malcolm Dome said the song was influenced by album-oriented rock of the 70s, such as Journey and Foreigner, but fans perceived it as an attempt for an early airplay for rock radio, and they've only performed the song once in 2012. So, there we are with that one. Yeah, I gave it a 7. I don't know if I said that.
I think you did.
All right, next song. Creeping Death, with being penned by all 4 members of the current lineup: Cliff, Kirk, Lars, James. I'm going to start with Dick. What do you think about Creeping Death?
I give Creeping Death a 10. That's just another seminal banger from just bands I've heard play it. Like Narrow House used to play it back in the day.
Yeah.
And it was just another song that I didn't know was a Metallica song. But going forward and hearing the actual thing and then rehearing it more recently, and I listened through for this, it's a banger. I can't say anything more than that. The lyrical content, the story of like Moses and the plagues and all that shit. It's so cool. Yeah, 10.
Again, kind of like more mature in his songwriting. He's actually like taking a look at more like movies like Ten Commandments, different works that like we already said, Escape from Alcatraz, and all these different more mature themes. This song gets my first 10. So it's my very first 10. I feel that Creeping Death, for the early days of Metallica, especially for these first two albums, is the quintessential example. If I were to play any one song and say this is Metallica, for this moment of time, it would have been Creeping Death.
Yeah.
Because it's got everything that they do. It's got their thrashiness. It's got their grooviness. It's got a cool little, like, you almost want to call it like almost like a breakdown when they do the riff change and they start incorporating that fist throwerness from.
Yeah, I was about to say this is another fucking fist pumper.
You know, like getting the crowd to chant "die."
Not what he called it last time. He's changed the name now.
Changed it.
I did change it. It was fist thrower, and then I fist
Okay.
pumper because you're pumping your fist.
Oh.
Makes me feel like fist throwing makes me feel like I'm punching.
It brings that in. It also brings in the
awesome.
seek and destroy, search, getting the fans to chant "search" in, and then James, you seek and destroy. This is getting everybody to shout "die." Who doesn't want to shout "die" at a metal concert? You know, take a break. I always loved it live when it's just the drums and the bass still going. The doom 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 doom. He goes, "Hey, how the fuck you guys doing out there? Yeah, huh? Yeah, we're gonna kick some ass here, but I need some help from you first. I want you to repeat after me." And he just starts chanting "die" and gets everybody doing it. And he's like, "Yeah, this is easy." You know, no, James makes controlling a crowd look easy, especially like after when, he's been doing it for decades. But this was one of those songs that encompassed all of those elements into one song. And yes, this is banger. Nate, what do you got for me?
Masterfully crafted song. It's got Maiden and Merciful Fate vibes, which, I mean, evident in thematically what they're talking about, and then just with the riff style and the way they make the song happen. The pre-chorus riff that you were talking about that's almost a breakdown is utter perfection. I love their exotic note selection. It's not like they didn't use typical scales. It's more Egyptian, okay? You hit the die, die, die thing, makes you headbang every time. It just die. I'm already doing it like it happens. Sonically and thematically, this is a true epic. You're gross. Dual guitar lead outro absolutely kills.
That's your Maiden feel right there. The do 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 do, and both guitars doing it. Yeah, and then of course the other Maiden thing. As soon as you said Maiden was a little diddle of the solo coming out of the die section back into the verse. The I'm like, yep, there it is. Oh yeah.
9.50. It's near perfection.
9.5. All right. That leaves Nick.
I gave it an 8. It's banger, 100% banger. And Nate just said it. It's an epic. It's got a little bit of everything. That whatever we're calling it, breakdown, is just totally badass. Yeah. Banger. That's all I got. You guys all said it all.
Doc Banger in the house.
Banger. I gave it. It's a 4 out of 8 on the album for me.
Nice.
So top 50 on this one.
The very last song, the closer, is an instrumental, "The Call of Ktulu," with writing credits going to James, Lars, Cliff, and Dave Mustaine. A massive departure from the first instrumental because this features an actual instrumental from every member of the band, not just a bass solo. And it's their attempt to try and tell a story without words. And they've done it a few, they have a few other instrumentals in their catalog, but this was other than Anesthesia, but this is the first one that really tries to do something atmospheric. Nate, we're going to start with you. What is your hot take on The Call of Ktulu?
It's an instrumental epic, which another word I'm trying not to throw around lightly, but when it's necessary, you got to give it props. It slowly builds to this absolute chaos unleashing. You can envision the monstrosity leaving the sea and being released into this world, and it's very dramatic. It's evil, and here's this word again. While it's a very evil sounding song, very groovy. It's still very grooving. And of course, the last thing I wrote, it's very important. I want to make sure I say it now. It's the second best Metallica instrumental in their history. It's a 9 out of 10 for me.
9. All right. Nick, will hit you next.
I give it a 9.5. Second favorite on the album. I think what got me into Metallica in the first place was the instrumentals. So before I even went through and really listened to the different albums, I think I'd heard Orion, and someone had mentioned like, oh, they do an instrumental on each album. So I would just go through and pick them out. So the instrumentals are always my favorites. And yeah, the way that it builds up, the sick guitar solo in the middle, I absolutely love it. It's I think it's also probably my second favorite of the instrumentals. Yeah, shout out to Dave. You snuck in one more time. Gave us one more badass Metallica song.
Yeah. Dick, what you got?
Give it an 8.5, 8.5. That is. It's a cool song. I feel like it's a song that really just encapsulates everything they wrote on the album.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of the first instrumentals I heard by them back in the day. I think the first time I heard this album, I was on my way to the very first Mayhem Festival in 2008. And it's just, we just listened to this song or this album on repeat just over and over and over, all the way there, all the way back, which is an hour drive or so from Delphi to Noblesville. So, yeah, it's a cool song. And I think it's another one, if I remember right, it's another one of those songs that has like that galloping part that I really like. Yeah, you guys have all said it. It's probably my third favorite of the Metallica instrumentals.
Yeah, this one was difficult because I struggled with my ranking on this one, primarily because not only am I like ranking it against everything else on the album, but also, as you guys have said, the other instrumentals, and I gave it an 8. I feel that there are times where the song kind of repeats itself one too many times. Again, it's an 8, so I do think it's up there, and it is a banger, and I agree with that the whole middle section of how it creates the tension of like rising out of the sea, like it just gets dark, and a little bit of a spoiler, that number might be different on S&M, so something to look forward to when we get to S&M there. So shall we go down? Brando's rank for Ride the Lightning is 8.375. Nate's is 8.78. Dick is at 8.43, and Nick is 8.12, which gives us the master rank of 8.42. I almost said the exact same number again. The highest ranking song on the album is Fade to Black at 9.6, with Creeping Death at number 2 at 9.3. So, what is the lowest ranking song on the album? That would be
Yes.
It's going to be Trapped Under Ice at 7.25. So, I mean, overall, as we've all said at different points, the growth is very noticeable. Going from Kill 'Em All directly into Ride the Lightning, you can definitely hear where they've grown as musicians. Both in penmanship, and in their lyrics. They're coming off as a more seasoned band, even though it's only a year later.
Yeah, I have final thoughts on this.
Go for it.
I just have, it's a brilliantly curated album. I think aside from Escape, which we find that's something James didn't want on the album, it's still brilliantly curated, way ahead of its time. And ultimately, this is the first test drive of their epic imaginations to find symphonic balance with more than just the 4 members. What I mean by that is this is the earliest time in their career you can go, oh, this is why Symphony and Metallica one day will work, because they're creating like that. They have this bigger idea and song structure. It's why, spoiler alert, Call of Cthulhu on S&M has even more impact and punch, because even back here in 84, they are visualizing this sound that they maybe don't necessarily hit every time, but that is so big you can't forget it. And yeah, that's my final thoughts.
So right after, like the tour after this, it was, you know, they were going to start working on Master of Puppets, and they finished up the American leg of the tour in May of '85. They also appeared at the Monsters of Rock Festival in Donington in front of 70,000 fans. Probably one of the bigger, you know, venues that they've had at the time. And they were placed in between Rat and Bon Jovi.
Whoa.
Oh.
The people there were in for a treat.
Yep.
At the start of the set, Hetfield pronounced to the audience, if you came here to see spandex, eye makeup, and the words, oh baby, in every fucking song, this ain't the fucking band. And then just 2 weeks later, they appeared at the Day on the Green, which we've already said, in Oakland, California. That was in front of 90,000 people.
Nice.
And so this album was very instrumental to getting them signed to a major label, to Elektra, and to their growth. And we're going to see that growth again when we get to the next album, when we look at Master of Puppets, which I'm very interested to see how that ranks out, because, you know, there have been some surprises along the way. You know, I honestly did not expect a 10 to be thrown out on the first episode and Kill 'Em All. And we've had a couple of 10s here as well. In fact, everybody now has a 10. They've all thrown out a 10. A couple multiples. I think
Dick's a non-stop 10 machine.
Dick has been throwing out those 10s,
He's printing
man.
them off like Federal Reserve, baby.
Both Nick and Nate rated Fade to Black a 10. I was pretty close with that. I debated that for a while. So that was almost 3 10s. But no, Creeping Death is my 10 for sure on this album. Can't wait for the next one. Guys, if there's nothing else, I think that wraps us up for this episode of Rank 'Em All.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the next time we see you, we will be ranking Master of Puppets, so please give that album a listen. And go check out the first episode of this one if you haven't yet done so. Check out Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning, great albums. Of course, I have been Brando. Of course, joining me here has been Nick Maxon.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely no problem. And we look forward to getting together again in the future to talk about more. Dick Tyner, how you doing, bud? Thanks for coming on the show. Yeah. You know what? I'm loving that you were so loud, and the internet decided to be like, nope, we're gonna cut you out right in the middle of that ooh, just to pad that just a little bit. Nope.
I thought it was just a weak ooh.
It might have been.
Ooh.
And Nate, thank you so much for being here again with your Master of Notes.
Ooh, I like that one.
Ever the note taker. Of course, I've got my little bit of info to kind of go along the way. I've got a lot of random Metallica knowledge to sprinkle along the way. There's going to be some Rank 'Em All sessions we do, and probably some bands that I won't be there. I'll just be here like, hey guys, yeah, that one was a 7. It was good. You know, I won't be able to be this way with everybody. Yeah. So, yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for being here. And thank all you guys out there for listening. I didn't do this on the first episode, and I don't know why, but you can check out this podcast on the Podcastrophe feed. For all your audio hopes, just search Podcastrophe and all the great podcasting platforms, as well as you can check us out on the Journey into Comics Network YouTube channel for the video versions. I don't know why I did not do this at all. I was completely so excited to talk about music that I didn't even do any of the plugs, any of the
It was the
homework.
pilot. It was the pilot.
Well, we also just kind of jumped in and said, okay, let's hit record and go. So
yeah.
No one's going to listen to this episode because they're not going to know where to get it.
I know. So at the beginning of the next one, everyone's going to listen to the Master of Puppets one anyway. At the beginning of the next one, we're going to tell everybody where they can find this shit. And maybe I'll do a little pre-record. I don't know. We'll figure it out. As we're still figuring, I've already figured out what I'm going to rank the next album. So anyway, guys, we're going to find that out next time here on Rank 'Em All. So until next time, we've been the panel, and you guys have been the listener, and we will see you later on.
Later.